Ready to go. Off we go, Mayor.
Oh, thank you. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the council meeting of the Wellington Shire Council for Tuesday the 6th of July 2021. As we're holding this meeting online via Skype, the first requirement that we have is to complete a councillor roll call, and each councillor must indicate that they can see and hear the other councillors. So firstly, Councillor Bye.
Yes, Mayor, I can see and hear you.
Councillor Crosley.
Yes, Mayor, I can see and hear you.
Councillor May.
I can see and hear you.
Councillor Mackenzie.
Yes, Mayor, I can hear and see you.
Councillor Ripper.
I can see and hear you, but you won't be able to see me because the video won't start. I'll get someone to start it. Okay.
All right. Councillor Rossetti.
Yes, Mayor, I can see you and I can hear you.
Councillor Tatterson.
Yes, Mayor, I can see you and I can hear you.
And Councillor Wood.
Yes, Mayor, I can see and hear you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the council meeting information. And as we remain under COVID-19 restrictions, the Minister's Good Practice Guide MGPG1 virtual meetings issued by the Minister for Local Government will apply. Pursuant to Section 87 of the Local Government Act 2020, these guidelines ensure that local government decision-making can continue in line with COVID-19 restrictions, and further details can be found on the Local Government Victoria website. These guidelines took effect on the 1st of May 2020 and will remain in place through to the 26th of April 2022. While members of the public cannot attend this meeting in person, we have provided options for you to interact with us virtually via our council meeting page on the Wellington Shire Council website. You are able to interact with council in two ways. Email a specific question or comment relating to a particular council agenda item no later than 1 p.m. on the day of the council meeting, or for general questions to council via the online web form early in this meeting to ensure that your questions can be dealt with at the end of this meeting. While we maintain a virtual way of gathering, we thank you for your ongoing support. Next, we have the Acknowledgement of Country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai-Kurnai people, and pay respects to their elders, past and present. And now the prayer. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that the true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. Now, apologies. All councillors are present. We have no apologies. Declaration of conflicts of interest. I don't believe there are any today. I'm not aware of any. No, thank you. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous council meeting held on the 15th of June.
Happy to do that, Councillor Bye, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bye. Do I have a seconder?
Can I move it first, Mayor?
Oh, you better move it first. All right, thank you, Councillor Bye.
I move the Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the Ordinary Council meeting of the 15th of June 2021.
Thank you very much. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Wood, thank you. Are there any opposition to the adoption of the minutes? No, I'll declare them carried. And you're right, Councillor Bye?
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is business arising. Previous meetings, there's none. Acceptance of late and urgent items. I'm not aware that there are any today. There are no notices of motion. Receiving of petitions or joint letters. There was a petition that was received at the last meeting on the 15th of June, and that's still listed on the agenda. And under our current practice, that petition will be answered and a recommendation brought back to the next council meeting, I believe. The next item is invited addresses, presentations or acknowledgements. And at this point of the meeting, I would just like to acknowledge the fact that this week is NAIDOC week, from the 4th to the 11th of July. I note that NAIDOC week started successfully yesterday with our event at the art gallery, and I believe that was very successful. So I trust that everyone that's taking part in NAIDOC week celebrations will receive benefit and a better understanding of our First Nations people. So good luck to everyone who's taking part in the NAIDOC week celebrations. Next, questions on notice. We have none. Report of delegates. I don't believe there are any delegates reports today. The next item on the agenda is the item 11.1, the Assembly of Councillors.
I'll move that for you, Mayor, if you like.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ripper, please.
Move that Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Councillors records for the period 7 June 2021 to 27 June 2021.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ripper. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second that, Mayor. Councillor Bye.
Thank you, Councillor Bye. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No. I'll declare that carried. Councillor Ripper.
No, I had no comment, Mayor.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Ripper. Excellent. Moving on to item 11.2 is the consideration of public submissions relating to the reviewed mayoral and council allowances. I note we had one submission. A mover for that, and there's a recommendation there.
Yes, I move that council allowance be received. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wood. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Councillor Crossley, second.
Thank you, Councillor Crossley. Any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Wood.
No, nothing further. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. The next item is 11.3, approval of our draft Community Vision Council Plan, Financial Plan and Asset Plan, all to go on public exhibition. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Crossley.
I'm happy to move that. I move that Council resolve to advertise the following draft documents which have been developed under Section 88, 90, 91, 92 of the Local Government Act 2020 for the second stage of Council's consultation process. Doc 1, Wellington 2031 Community Vision as attached. Doc 2, Council Plan 2021-25 as attached. Doc 3, Financial Plan 2021-22 to 2030-31 as attached. And final dot, Asset Plan 2021 as attached for the period of 4 weeks starting 7th of July to the 4th of August 2021.
Thank you, Councillor Crossley. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare them carried. Councillor Crossley.
Thank you, Mayor. The Council Plan is probably the most important document that the new formed council can produce, and as its importance, it's had a great deal of community input and consultation to develop the process so far. So, as it says, this is in the second stage of that community input to this very important document. Well, suite of documents. And can I just acknowledge the huge community contribution, 1,100, I should say, 11,000, a little bit excited. 1,100 communities have engaged with this process, which has been through the drop-in session, through the individual community groups approached and engaged, and also really high input on the new online system that we have, and through socials as well as on the website. So really high engagement, and really congratulate the community for being involved, because this is their document, and this is why we're the 4 documents that are out. The council plan is really reflecting that input. It's quite a change from the previous plans. The priority sets that are quite different, and certainly I'd just like to highlight from that consultation that the emerging opportunities and priorities have been 1, climate change, 2, economy and transition, 3, partnering with Gunai Kurnai, 4, population growth and housing choice, and 5, better access to key services. So we've got some really key drivers that's going to look to the future and how our community's focused coming forward in the next 4 years. And the support plans, so that basically the financial plan is there so that there are funds available to, now my screen's gone here, to implement the community's priorities, and the assets plan is focusing on those facilities out of that plan. So I say the community vision is where we want to see ourselves in the future, and it's built on the highly publicised and researched 2030, so it's a 2031 plan, and the council plan that's really, oh, my IT is going weird at the moment, sorry about that, screens are disappearing, sorry, that's, oh God, sorry about that, I've just lost the screen.
Modern technology, Councillor Crosley.
Yes, so this is the second stage for the final consultation. So there will be other opportunities for engagement once these documents have been released to the public. There will be opportunities to on the Your Say portal that probably people have been used to on the your.wellington.vic.gov.au. There will also be organisations which engage with the business and other community organisations into this document, and also we'll be going around the various libraries and having drop-in sessions that communities that we hope members that have read the document have really seen what the input has been and have a final once over and opportunities to discuss and engage with officers and with councillors to see that it does reflect that what the community wants to see in the future. Sorry about the technical things here. I do apologise. I thought I had it all. Sorry about that.
No, that's quite all right. Thank you, Councillor Crosley. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is 11.4, approval of instruments and delegations in relation to the new Environment Protection Act.
Mayor, I'm happy to move that.
Thank you, Councillor Marr.
I move that Council approve the attached instruments of delegation. 1, S2 Council Resolution, Delegation to CEO, thereby authorising the S5 Instrument of Delegation, Council to CEO. 2, S5 Instrument of Delegation, Council to CEO, thereby authorising the CEO to exercise their powers, duties and functions as detailed in the schedule to the instrument. And 3, S18, Instrument of Subdelegation under the Environment Protection Act 2017, thereby authorising the new provisions under the Act.
Is there a seconder for that?
Yes.
Who was that?
I'll second. Councillor
Wood. Thank you very much. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. There's been some changes to the Environmental Protection Act and its regulations, which have come into force as of the 1st of July 2021. So there was a council resolution required for the instrument of delegation to appoint the CEO and authorise him to delegate to the officers in the environmental and wastewater space. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Marr. The next item is for General Manager Development, item 12.1, is the Strategic Land Use Planning Work Program for 2021-22.
Mayor, I'm happy to move that as well.
Thank you, Councillor Marr.
I move that Council 1 endorse the residential land stocktake charrette, implementation of findings, and preparation of a Wellington Shire growth management and economic development strategy, projects as outlined in the report as the priority projects of the 2021-2022 Strategic Land Use Planning Work Program, and 2, note the secondary Strategic Land Use Planning priorities as outlined in this report.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation?
I'm happy to second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tatterson. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. Each year the SLUT Committee discusses strategic planning priorities, and as such, these two are a list of a number of them. With regard to the residential land stocktake, charrettes were held over 2 online sessions on the 5th and 12th of May. The purpose for those was to explore infrastructure, land development costs and other issues which have been preventing the supply of residential land within key areas of the Shire. It's anticipated that having a decision-making framework will provide guidelines when considering council support for infrastructure development into the future. So it's therefore been determined that this is a priority for the 2021-2022 strategic planning team. Another new priority is the growth management strategy, which provides a framework to direct and manage residential and economic growth opportunities, and this will enable council to plan for future services and infrastructure provisions as well. There are other priorities that have been identified, and they can be seen on the attached graphic, which I'm sure everyone can see. It includes the MAFRA structure plan, the North Sale Infrastructure Contributions Mechanism, and Yarram Industrial and Residential Growth Strategy. There are also other works as detailed from points 3 to 10. However, it's important to note that all of these projects that are listed are based on budgetary allocations, existing projects, resourcing, and the urgency and need of projects. And this is what has been decided. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Marr. Move to item 12.2, the Strategic Land Use Planning Quarterly Report from April to June 2021.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Marr.
I'll move that Council receive the second quarterly update on the Strategic Land Use Planning Work Program, included in attachment planning project and amendments to this report.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation?
Happy to second that, Mayor. Councillor Bye.
Thank you, Councillor Bye. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No. I'll declare it carried. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just an overview of the strategic land use planning works that have been undertaken by the planning team. I'll just highlight a couple that they have been working on and very close to fruition on some of them. The North Sale Developer Contributions Plan is nearing completion, and it's anticipated that feedback on the contributions arrangement will be sought from land landowners during the second half of 2021 before any formal consideration will be brought to Council. And with regard to the West Sale and Warwick Industrial Land Strategy Technical Report preparation, officers are currently working with the relevant statutory authorities to address a number of existing technical issues prior to finalising the report. Another one to note is the Port of Sale East Bank redevelopment study, which has had a period of community consultation and a draft planning scheme provision facilitating appropriate uses and developments to the site will be detailed for review for future council considerations. And this study also informs the Port of Sale Precinct Master Plan review that is also occurring. The MAFRA structure plan, which has been of high priority, is expected to be publicly exhibited in the second half of 2021 after a lot of work has been conducted with public consultations thus far. With regard to the Port of Sale Precinct Master Plan review and revision, it's important to note that that public exhibition was conducted between March and April of 2021, and the feedback has been used for the draft master plan, which is expected to be brought to Council in August of 2021. There was also a residential stocktake charrette, which I have discussed in the earlier motion, and the findings of that should be presented to Council approximately mid-year. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Marr. We'll move on to the next item, is item 13.1, Place Names Committee Minutes.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that motion.
Thank you. Please proceed, Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that one, Council receive and note the minutes of the Place Names Committee meeting held on 12th May 2021, and two, that the name Booth, in recognition of Dennis Booth's sporting achievements and community service to the Stratford area, be added to the Council-approved road name register for consideration in future naming proposals. And three, the park between Christa Court and Mark Avenue Sale be named the Jambies Park. And four, the name Wiggins Avenue be approved for the subdivision at 238 Boysdale Street, Maffra, in recognition of Colin Wiggins, who was a Maffra Shire engineer, and his achievements in and contribution to local cricket. And five, the name Mallet, in recognition of the Mallet family as early settlers of Sale and their services to the Sale Fire Brigade, be added to the Council-approved road name register for consideration in future naming proposals, subject to compliance with the duplicate name rule.
Thank you, Councillor Rossetti. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation?
Councillor Wood.
Councillor Wood, thank you very much. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No, if not, I'll declare the recommendation carried. Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, just pick up a couple of things in there. It's great to see that Dennis Booth being recognised there. Obviously, we'll need to wait until the appropriate road or what have you comes up to be able to apply his name to it. But getting the name onto the list is the first stage. But being an Olympics year, it's interesting. Dennis was actually in the 1966 Commonwealth Games representing Australia in Jamaica, and he won bronze in the light heavyweight title. Also interested, Mayor, we had some great discussions around the park between Christa Court and Mark Avenue, which has now been named the Jambies Park. This was actually a local suggestion, and it was cross-checked with the Gunai-Kurnai Land and Waters Aboriginal Corporation to make sure that we could use it, because the word the Jambies actually means friends in the Gunai-Kurnai language. And it's really nice seeing us again able to use an Indigenous name from the Gunai-Kurnai to name something else in our Shire. And may there be a lot more of it, and may there be a lot more to Jambies between all of our different groups. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti. The next item on the agenda is item 13.2, and that's the Urban and Rural Tree Management 2021-23 Schedule of Rates panel tender. Now, there's three similar items, but I think we're just going to move them for appointment of panels one at a time. So, yes, we've got someone to move the first one.
I'm happy to move those, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tatterson. Please proceed.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, the 13.2, the Urban and Rural Tree Management Schedule of Rates panel tender. I'd like to move the recommendation as it's written for that particular contract.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Tatterson. Have we got a seconder?
Councillor Wood.
Councillor Wood, thank you very much. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No, if not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Tatterson?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. These panel contracts are really critical to us continuing to deliver services and maintain our wonderful parks and gardens and our urban forests. So a lot of these panel contracts that we'll be considering today really help our key staff in maintaining all our parks, and they do a wonderful job. And no finer example than the recent storm events where we had a number of contractors that were out at all hours of the night following that significant event that we had a few weeks ago. So congratulations and thanks to all those contractors for their continued efforts and their continued work to make our place a better place to live.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Tatterson. Couldn't agree with you more. So, of course, this isn't a standard contract where we have a successful contractor. All the panel members are listed in the recommendations, so form part of the public council minutes record. The next item, 13.3, is the Vegetation Management Works Schedule of Rates.
I'm happy to move that one.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Tatterson.
So I'd like to move the Vegetation Management Works Schedule of Rates panel tender, and I'd like to move the recommendation as it's written in the council report, which, as you just mentioned, includes the number of contractors who have been successful in joining our panel tenders.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Have we got a seconder for that recommendation?
Councillor Ripper will second that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ripper. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'm happy to declare that carried. Councillor Tatterson?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, as I previously mentioned on the last item, these contractors do a wonderful job to support our staff and maintaining our network. So thank you for their work and efforts.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Next item, 13.4, is the Landscape Construction Services Schedule of Rates panel tender.
I'm happy to move that one also, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor.
The Landscape Construction Services 2021 to 2023 Schedule of Rates panel tender, I'd like to move the recommendation as it's written.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation?
Happy to second that, Mayor. Councillor Bye.
Thank you so much, Councillor Bye. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'm happy to declare that carried. Councillor Tatterson again.
Thank you. And certainly our landscapes, some of the works that have been done by our parks and their associated contractors are certainly wonderful, and they've enhanced all of our towns with some of the fine work they've done. So thank you again for their efforts.
Thank you, Councillor Tatterson. The next agenda item is item 13.5. Sorry, I'm about to jump one. Sorry, 13.5 is the Memorandum of Understanding for the Princess Highway Improvements Project. Do I have a move?
Yes,
Councillor Rossetti, was that you? Yes. Please proceed.
Thank you. I move that to support the implementation of the Princess Highway Improvements Package and the Cunningham Street Signalisation Package of Councils, revitalising our region package of works as described in this report. Council 1 authorise the Chief Executive Officer to finalise a Memorandum of Understanding with the Department of Transport in relation to delivery of the Cunningham Street signals and Princess Highway through lane pavement upgrade component of the revitalising our region package of works, and happy to take the rest as read because I'm going to be tongue twisting the whole way otherwise.
Thank you, Councillor Rossetti. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation?
Happy to second that, Mayor. Councillor Crossley.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Crossley. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'm happy to declare that carried. Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Mayor. And we've had multiple motions come to Council regarding all the works along York Street, the revitalisation of that whole corridor. And it is looking magnificent, the undergrounding of the power lines and the work being done to move the lighting fixtures and those sorts of things. It's really coming along beautifully. But this is one of those, while this is a very mechanical motion, and I thank the councillors for support, in that it's just needed to be able to give permission for another level of government to get involved and do what they need to do. It's actually all about primarily the traffic lights on the McDonald's, Gippy Hotel, ex-Red Rooster, Dan Murphy's Corner. And that's been quite a problem for some time. And to get a set of traffic lights there, I think it's going to be a terrific outcome because it will enable that traffic to be much better managed, especially for the school traffic coming out from 545 Primary School trying to get across the highway, or people coming from the shopping centre trying to go the other way. It's a really difficult intersection, and the traffic lights will actually fix so many of those sorts of issues there. In fact, Mayor, you may not be aware, but actually, as a 7-year-old was involved in an accident on that very intersection. And I remember it quite clearly in my father's Pontiac Parisienne, one of those big vehicles. But yeah, we've all seen accidents on those corners, on that corner. So the traffic lights hopefully will indeed reduce that and make traffic flow much more smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti. I remember the Pontiac Parisienne. That'd be the sort of car to have an accident in, because I remember they were built like a brick tank.
That is correct. There was plenty of room, plenty of crumple zone.
Plenty of crumple. Excellent. Good. Well, I'm glad you survived safely, Councillor Rossetti. Item 13.6 is the streetlight LED replacement project, Phase 2 hardware procurement. Councillor, hang on, who's that? Councillor Crossley. Thank you, Councillor Crossley. Proceed.
I move that Council adopt the recommendations contained in the attached confidential evaluation report of the Council meeting agenda for the supply of approved LED streetlights through the Municipal Association of Victoria Preferred Supplier Panel FL9311.
Thank you, Councillor Crossley. Do I have a seconder?
Councillor Wood, second, Mayor. Councillor Marr.
Councillor Marr. Thank you very much, Councillor Marr. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No. If not, I'll declare the motion carried. Councillor Crossley.
Thank you, Mayor. I've discovered something about power. If you plug in your laptop, it works a lot better as well. IT issue solved. This is a very exciting motion, because this is the second phase of transition to our streetlights to a more efficient LED. And the other good thing about this is that this is funded under the round 2 of the federal government road and community infrastructure program, so it comes to us with no cost. The other good thing is that we're partnering and running this program jointly with South Gippsland Shire and East Gippsland Shire, and that always makes it cost effective as well. The streetlights cost Council's biggest single electricity bill, and converting to LEDs will reduce that cost by 50%. Normally, if we were paying for this transition to LED lights, it would be a 5-year payback time. But because this is already being paid upfront by the grant, that the cost flow positive to council will be immediate. So not only will we have an immediate financial gain, but also there will be, over the life of the LEDs, which is expected to be 20 years, that there will be 9,000 plus tonnes of greenhouse gas emissions saved over that time, and also that there will be reduce the cost of maintenance and also reduce the energy uses by well over 400,000 kilowatts per year. So it's a really net gain, and really also a key driver in reducing our carbon footprint as a shire, which was, as when we were doing the information about our council plan, was something that the community really wanted to see leadership in. So this is going to be a great outcome. And there will be also improvements in amenity. There won't be a bit of light quality, and there's less wash over from it, so more directional. And also the lights won't degrade, the lighting won't degrade over time like the old system. So it's a net gain, both environmentally, amenity and cost savings.
Thank you very much, Councillor Crosley. That should be a really positive outcome for us. The next item is item 14, further gallery and online comments. Mr. Acting CEO, I understand we have at least a couple of online questions, comments.
Yes, Mayor, we have one comment and one question. So let's start off with the comment first. The comment comes from Pauline Mullett, and the comment is the Kernai people would support the council to the removal of Angus McMillan name from the memorial. To honour Angus McMillan would not be accepted. So that's the comment, and I think that probably relates to a previous agenda item. Yes. But what we'll do is we'll provide a written response to Pauline to detail the outcome of the previous agenda item and also what we're currently working on, and a copy will also be provided to all councillors. Secondly, we have a question, and this comes from Moira Deeming. And it states, under Victorian law, is it legal for local government councils to provide sex-based targeted services and facilities separately to gender identity-based targeted services and facilities? If not, why not? For example, can we legally put signs on a set of public toilets declaring that one is for biological males, including males with an intersex condition, one is for biological females, including biological females with an intersex condition, and one is for people with transgender identities of any biological sex. If not, why not? As a taxpayer, I would like clarification on these issues, and I would like to know a council's opinion on the answer. I would also like to have the response made both at the meeting and also in writing to this email address. Now, Mayor and councillors, Moira Deeming is a councillor at the Melton Shire, and I believe that this question has been sent to many other Victorian councils. So we will provide Moira with a written response, and we'll provide a copy to all councillors. Also, I'd just like to add, in the written response, we won't be answering the question as to whether it's illegal or provide a legal opinion, because that's not our role. And each council service operates under different legal and regulatory frameworks, and council also gives due consideration to things like gender equality, the Equal Opportunity Act, the Sex Discrimination Act, when we look at delivering services. So a simple answer to such a broad question is not possible. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Acting CEO. And there's no other. That was it. No other additional online. No. Comments?
Nothing else.
There's no further gallery comments. Then we'll move on to the next item, closed session, and I believe there is a need to go into closed session very briefly. So I just seek a councillor to move the appropriate recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move a motion there.
Thank you very much. Please proceed, Councillor Zetti.
I move that the meeting be closed to public pursuant to section 66(2) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider matters under section 66(5)(b) as defined by section 3(1), being, let's go H. No, okay, it's changed. We have to go H. Let's go F, personal information.
F sounds really good, Councillor Rossetti. Thank you.
Sorry,
do we have a seconder?
I'm happy to second that.
Oh, well, Councillor Crosley beat you by a short half hand. Thank you, Councillor Tennyson. So Councillor Crosley seconded that. Is there any opposition to to go into closed session for the reason enumerated in the motion? Recommendation, I mean? No. I'll declare the recommendation carried. We're now in closed session.